fairly wide. So AMR this time will be the red-colored Terran against a green-colored DryingPole. DryingPole, that is a very unique name. And again, we will see them skillfully producing their SCVs, their harvesters, so key in keeping their economy high, so key in allowing them to make large armies to combat their opponents here. And AMR doing a little SCV dance, and there's a supply depot. For each of the players here, protection tab up now. In the previous game, we saw DryingPole take the game with a fairly strong Viking tank timing. He took quite a bit of damage from some Reaper play from AMR, but ultimately I don't think that was as effective for AMR as he would have liked. And so AMR ended up losing despite the fact that he had an economic advantage and he had his expansion on the way. Let's see what style of play AMR opts for this time. Barracks down for both of the players. Will DryingPole go for that same Viking tank composition? And I wouldn't be surprised to see any kind of early marine pressure on this map, some heavy bio play, or perhaps some even tech play going to those Banshees and doing good amounts of harass. Gas down for AMR, and no gas down for DryingPole, so it looks like they're switching spots here. In the previous game, oh no, gas finally down for DryingPole. Fairly late, and this SCV will try to break this building, but it's going to be a long time coming. The barracks does finish up safely. And so now we'll have to see what tech options they go for. Will they put a quick add-on on their racks, or will they go for that factory? I don't know. It is up to these players to decide what best strategy to utilize on this map. And here we go. The scout is now going to be pushed out of the opponent's base. DryingPole is going to be able to take control of his base and deny vision into there. And AMR getting a very quick tech lab, so he could be going for a very fast Marauder timing, or perhaps going for fast stim, fast upgrades. We'll have to see. Certainly last game, he really seemed to favor those Reapers a lot. Will he perhaps do that again and do a fast expand behind that? Now this SCV is going to be trying to spot the forward ramp of DryingPole, but these two Marines very well positioned, and another bunker going down, and that's going to really be telling of DryingPole's decisions here. That early bunker is really so much of a giveaway in terms of what your opponent is doing, and it looks like we do have that double gas down, and factory is going down for DryingPole. So now a similar opening from last game, except this time the second gas is much earlier. So he's going to have a lot more gas than he did previously, but that's also going to mean a lot less minerals, and it looks like we do have a Reaper expand coming from AMR. And he's going to be able to jump in with his Reaper and see everything. But DryingPole very smartly putting the Marine in the back on patrol. He's going to try to catch that Reaper as soon as it jumps into the base. And you can see it covers this whole cliff area that the Reaper tends to use to jump in. Now, the alternative option for the Reaper could be coming in on this side of the base, and that could really catch DryingPole off guard. But we'll have to see what AMR decides to do. It looks like he is going to jump in there, and I think this Reaper is going to be very disappointed when he almost immediately gets denied. But no, taking a little cigarette break here. Oh, now the Reaper is going in, and let's see how much he can scout. Here comes the Reaper. The Marine is a little negligent of his duty, and he does snipe that SCV building the starport. And here comes this Reaper. Is he going to get trapped? He did kill one SCV there, and no, he does get sniped by those Marines. So good control by DryingPole. A little bit of an overreaction, I think, on the SCVs, but that's okay. He's going to continue building his starport, but everything is revealed for AMR. AMR knows exactly the style that his opponent is going for, and this expansion command center is finishing up finally, and a second racks down. So he's got barracks and two barracks and a factory here. Second gas now finishing up, starting to put out tanks here en masse. And here comes the starport finishing up. Will he switch it, or will he build Vikings? I think that those will be Vikings coming out of that starport, as we do have that kind of tank style coming out here once again for DryingPole. But the question is, how will AMR adjust his game plan according to how he played last game? He tried to go for that heavy Reaper mix, and that didn't work out too well for him. Now we can see he only made one Reaper for those scouting purposes, and now switching into Reactor Marines here. And last time also, I have to say, our player here, DryingPole, was kind of behind on his bio upgrades. Due to the fact that he was using Reactor Marines, he wasn't able to get a barracks with a tech lab on it, and he really just never had stim packs. He never had those key bio upgrades that would make his that would give his bio the edge it needs in the fight. But he was able to do enough damage before the stim timing and the +1 for AMR was able to really kick in and take effect. So we'll have to see what DryingPole does here. Reactor on the starport, so he's going to be building, it looks like medevacs, double medevacs, and this could give him a lot of mobility. He's going to be able to elevator his siege tanks up into his opponent's base if he so desires. And siege tech already finished for DryingPole. The expansion now down for AMR, and I really would like DryingPole to go for a timing. Let's take a look at how much he has scouted. Absolutely nothing. DryingPole is playing fairly blind right now, and that is less than good. You really want to spend at least one of your scans in some of these key timings, because what if his opponent was going for Banshee play? I mean, you have your engineering bay is only just now coming down, and that Banshee could really be so devastating, especially because you don't have stim right now. So DryingPole playing a little bit risky, adding now another rack, so he's almost getting to the point where he's pretty all in. He needs to do some damage, or he's going to be so behind economically that he's going to find it very difficult to come back into this game. DryingPole, AMR already saturating his expansion here, and if he waits any longer, the economic advantage is just going to be too great for AMR to hold. And here comes the timing by DryingPole. Curiously enough, he has a Hellion leading the front, and by leading the front, I mean getting stuck on rocks, and now it finally finds itself putting itself into reverse and backing out of those rocks there, and AMR is going to see this timing coming in so obviously with that well-placed SCV on the tower. He even has this sensor tower here, so he's going to be able to see if DryingPole is going to try to elevator up into his base, and he scans there, and it looks like DryingPole will go for that elevator play, and if he gets situated in here in his opponent's base, it could be too late for AMR, but AMR comes up here. His Marines do snipe off one of the tanks, and he's bringing all his SCVs here, and AMR's tank does get sieged up, and it looks like this push will be cleaned up by DryingPole, and this is really bad because AMR already has his expansion up. He already has that mining. This was fairly all in at this point for DryingPole, and no command center on the way, so his only option, DryingPole's only continuing option from here on out is to make another push, and with the greater economy for AMR, I don't think that is going to be very possible here. So AMR loading up his Marines into his own medevac, and again, you know, with DryingPole, we saw him be way more risky than he needed to be at the start of, at the end of his match there when he did get dropped by AMR, and now AMR, I think he's being a little more risky than he needs to. Now drops don't really work that effectively when your opponent is still on one base, because there isn't much of a space where he can try to, you know, the strength of a drop is hitting somewhere where you couldn't normally hit, that's not defended. But in this case on one base, I mean, look at that, the tanks have so much range they can just defend the base just by being sieged in the middle of said base. But here comes the medevac. It's going to be dropped in, immediately spotted by 2 Marines and a Viking, and he's still going to go ahead and drop. 2 Marines get out, thought they were safe, the medevac blowing up above them, but they did get killed by DryingPole's units back there, and now the food count ahead for DryingPole. So again, a silly mistake, risks that do not need to be taken, causing these players to make the games much closer than they should be. AMR was so ahead after stopping that kind of elevator play with very good scouting. He had the Xel'Naga tower, saw that push coming. He had the sensor tower, saw that his opponent was moving through the back of his base, and he was able to defend that very nicely. But here comes DryingPole with a food advantage here. He's got Vikings, he's got tanks, he's got triple medevacs, and this is going to be tough. But the defensive position is in AMR's favor, and he does siege up those tanks nicely there. Oh, and a lot of damage on those Marines. The siege tanks do a lot to those Marines, but these medevacs will be quickly healing them up. But DryingPole is going to need to think of some way. Ooh, almost losing more tanks, and it looks like he is going to go for that elevator play again. This medevac will drop a siege tank and 2 Marines, and that's going to put this barracks in danger for AMR. Now, what will AMR do to defend here? DryingPole can slowly just unsiege one of his tanks, elevator that up, and eventually he will be in his opponent's base. The bunker does go down. This air control by the Vikings is doing so well for DryingPole. AMR has no way to counterattack with his tanks here. Oh, and this this tank shooting up onto the high ground. Oh, and that is less than good by DryingPole. No need to lose all those Marines, but this barracks will go down for AMR. The food count still in favor of DryingPole, and this push is getting increasingly deadly for AMR. He's up against the wall at this point. He's got a single ghost out and a Banshee, and this is going to be very good for AMR, but a scan and the Vikings will be able to repel this Banshee, and it does go down, unable to kill even a single tank, and AMR has got to think of some more creative way to come back here, and he's stimming 3 Marines, 4 Marines as sacrificial Marines, and now that there are no more Marines left, DryingPole has got to start thinking about dropping on top of AMR's tanks. That is a viable choice. Oh, and he's landing his units in range of this one back tank, well positioned by AMR, but it looks like it will get overrun. And just due to the fact that DryingPole has more units, he's able to throw them very cost ineffectively. These tanks protecting each other from the top and bottom, and it looks like these Vikings will be lost in DryingPole now. The one being a little more aggressive than needs to be. A deserter Marine here saying, I'm just going to hang out by the Xel'Naga Tower and watch what's coming to kill my base, to kill my home. And it looks like more elevator action by DryingPole, and DryingPole doing some very, very good drop play here. Another Banshee out, but now there are no Vikings to defend, and more Marines being sacrificed to the siege tank gods. And this, oh my god, this Banshee might be able to clean up everything. It gets scanned. He needs to micro this Banshee away, but it looks like DryingPole decides not to fire it. It says, oh, I see you, but I'm not going to kill you. And this Banshee is doing so much damage. Oh, I didn't know Banshees could shoot the air. That was kind of curious. And a double Ghost Academy for some nuke action. Not gonna happen anytime soon. And it looks like a little carelessness might have cleaned that push up for AMR. And another tank out here deciding to take the long way around to attack. And unsieged tanks do very well against siege tanks if they can get into that position here. And it looks like AMR will finally clean this up, but at what cost? Let's go take a look at the income count. Because of that late expansion, and the fact that DryingPole was so all in with that, he's only just barely killed enough units to maybe have a chance. And oh my god, the theme of the day, you guys, sacrificial Marines to the tank gods, and this one Banshee just doesn't care that it's been seen by literally everything in the world. It's gonna cloak right in front of the faces of his opponent, and he's gonna be moving, and he gets scanned, and the Vikings snipe that Banshee down. Not good. You really want to treasure every single one of your units at this point in the game. It's been insane. There's been so much action. And it looks like AMR has finally cleaned up that insane timing push by DryingPole. And I must emphasize, that push by DryingPole was only to get him relatively back in the game. Despite the amount of damage that DryingPole did, he is only even with his opponent. I mean, he's even, I would say he's slightly behind his opponent, but here comes another Doom Drop. This seems to be DryingPole's signature move here, but again, there is no sensor tower. It did get killed, but this turret is coming up. Will it be in time? And I'm speaking in a whispered voice because I don't want to spoil this game for the players. This is going to be a really, really strong drop for DryingPole, but I don't know about this tank positioning. This is pretty good by AMR. He's kind of, I feel like he's learned his lesson. He's putting tanks across his base, and the missile turret doesn't finish, so all these medevacs will fly into his base. He's going very deep into AMR's base. This tank does begin firing, and these units are in jeopardy of this tank, but one tank is not enough to do a ton of damage here. The medevacs are healing up the Marines as they get damaged. This one Ghost is going to nuke his own base because he does not care about that poor little supply depot. These siege tanks possibly do not realize that they are in nuclear jeopardy right now. And will this nuke land? It looks like the nuke will land. Will it land on the siege tanks? And there goes all of DryingPole's units in that one drop. Everything is cleaned up, despite the fact that AMR killed his own supply depot and his missile turret. I cannot believe that nuke landed, and that is going to be fairly cost effective for AMR here, and a third base even up for AMR, but I really would like to see him secure a much more commanding lead. It looks like they have made friends. Oh, no, never mind. Not friends with that SCV, in fact. And AMR stimming up here, going to try to snipe this tank, and it looks like he will be able to, and if AMR cleans up this batch of Marines, that is going to be really good for him. He's going to secure a very comfortable position, and now finally we see some stability in AMR's play. Oh my goodness, that nuke was money, and this Ghost decides not to kill that medevac for whatever reason. But DryingPole on a full-out retreat. He's going to be, his back is up against the wall at this point. AMR turning it around with some brilliant defense, and it looks like DryingPole preparing for the day that he needs to lift up his command center and go to another location. He has 5 SCVs loaded into that command center. He did not want it to be an orbital command either, and now only unloading those SCVs. Mined out of his main, heavily saturated on his expansion, and I'm going to keep quiet about that for a little bit. It looks like DryingPole is thinking about doing a push on the side here, but will he figure out what's going on? Oh, this Banshee is going to take away his attention from the fact that there's a fucking nuclear bomb that's going to land on his SCV. Let's have a moment of silence for those SCVs for DryingPole. And it looks like one more push coming out for AMR. And these siege tanks are going to be pretty tough for him to deal, but so far this one ghost is going to be feeling pretty good about himself. 26 kills. He is considered a commander ghost, and that is pretty high rank in Terran terms in StarCraft because your units just die so fast. It looks like the scan of the SCVs want a piece of the action, and will they be able to kill this ghost? The SCVs are ganging up on it, surrounding it, going into a boxing match, and they do punch the ghost to death. And it looks like this push finally arriving at AMR's base, going through the third, and that is a lot of bio units, and they are in a very concentrated clump, and the Viking flies in right above, gets killed by the Marines. These tanks are going to do a lot of damage to scan and cleans up every single one. Last one of AMR's units, not cost effective at all. What does AMR have to defend? Absolutely nothing. Let's go and look at the unit tab. 2 Marines, now 1 Marauder and 1 Ghost at somewhere. I do not know where that Ghost is, and curiously enough, AMR is really in trouble right now. What's he gonna do? We look at the income count now. DryingPole does not have another option, and it looks like AMR doing what's best, going back to those nice workers there, and they're going to be able to clean up the tanks. The tanks want to run. The tanks are going to start migrating against these SCVs, and if these I would really like to see one tank in the back in siege mode. It's going to be able to do a lot of damage to these workers here, and it looks like AMR will be able to clean this up with a fearsome SCV unit composition. Who knew that SCVs could defend against tanks so effectively? But AMR now going to be settled with his third base. He's mined out of his main. He's heavily saturated on his natural, but he does have this third up. And what does DryingPole have going for him? Just this one expansion, not very well saturated, and sacrificing more tanks. And this is looking tough for DryingPole at this point. After some very, very nice nukes landing for AMR, some great use of barracks just making Marines and not Marauders, even though they have that tech lab there. It looks like AMR will stabilize once again. The food count 100 for our red Terran player AMR, 47 for our green Terran player DryingPole. And AMR sure does like his nuclear bombs because he's landed 2 of them so far, and they have been very, very effective. Rarely do we ever see nukes so effective, and he still has 2 on the way, and this goes in the back. Looks like he wants to do something. He already has 15 kills. He's a captain, not quite a commander like his buddy there that did get killed by the SCVs that had blood in their eyes. And let's see, a medevac holding some Marines there. Oh, no, I guess they were not Marines. They were SCVs. Don't know why they were carrying that. But here comes a final push by AMR, a lot smaller than they need to be, getting a 4th. Now, Artosis once said, when you're ahead, get more ahead, but when you're able to kill your opponent, I think you should just do that. You're way far enough ahead, AMR. I think your timing is going to be now, looks like a doom drop. If that Ghost just decides to shoot that drop once, that's 8 Marines that lose their life immediately. It looks like this one Banshee coming in on the side. Now, DryingPole has to be wondering, where is this nuke going to land? I really only have one place where I'm mining from. I wonder where that could be. Bam! And another nuke lands, needlessly losing a lot of workers. 34 kills. He has surpassed his sensei, his teacher. He is now a commander himself at 34. I cannot believe that DryingPole did not run his workers away from that nuke, and it looks like one more push from DryingPole, gonna get cleaned up by these Marauders, and it looks like a Banshee gonna do the cleanup job. This Marauder, this Ghost might as well jump in there and start killing workers himself, and good game is called. We are 1-1 in this series. AMR kind of likes those strange tactics, using nukes, using Reapers, and it's been, the Reapers weren't so effective, but the nukes, I have to say, those were quite effective.